I recently picked up guitar after a 10-year hiatus from music, and while some of it felt like getting back on a bike, other parts of it seemed incredibly difficult, like the pain of not having calluses and the lack of dexterity in my fingers. But I did find a handful of things that helped me make progress way faster than I thought was possible. Things that I wish someone had told me way back at the beginning of my journey, because it would have saved me a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and ultimately helped me become a better player much quicker. If you're coming back to guitar, or you're brand new to guitar and you want to develop some good habits and make good progress, then these 6 things are going to help you do it. Number 1, expand your musical vocabulary. A lot of learning guitar is just like when a child learns to talk, so they'll hear words and phrases and try them out on their own to build their vocabulary.
The Lulu touch grass. Sheesh. Period. Period. This ain't it, Chief Strode.
Sometimes with guitar, we do this backwards, kind of like handing a grammar book to a toddler and expecting them to be able to read it. But on guitar, you can use this to learn new things or get out of a musical rut. So if the things you play always sound the same, or if that pentatonic thing that you play always just sounds like a scale, this can be a way to fix that. And here's how I do it. Anytime I see like a YouTube short, a video, I hear a song in the car, I will get out my notes app on my phone and I will make a note. I'll post the link. Then at least once a week, I take like a cursory cruise through all those notes and I try them on just like how I tried out those words earlier. But if I see something that fits, I will add it to my regular practice repertoire until it becomes muscle memory. That way it replaces out those tired things that I don't like anymore. These things become the new default that my fingers go to, and it doesn't take very many of these to completely change your playing. If you do this enough, you'll have this huge repertoire of these stolen licks that you can string together and reinvent your own style of playing. Okay, number 2 is personal to me, and there's probably only 20% of you that need to hear this, and you're gonna think I don't know about that. But I had to shift my musical state of mind to play like an asshole. And while this comes pretty easily in my everyday life, it didn't always translate to stages or performances. And in some areas of my life, and especially on stage and in musical performances, I had felt pressure to be smaller or less. So in order to even approach this line of what was appropriate on guitar, I had to conjure up that play like an asshole mentality to even get close to the line. Now, maybe what would be more appropriate is therapy instead of making YouTube videos, but hear me out. Here's the practical application. It's not the negative connotation that I'm giving it. The energy that I'm describing is simply confidence from being prepared. See, I had to come to terms with and accept that the pressure that I felt to be smaller or less was just a lack of confidence because I didn't even know how to prepare, and that there's different levels to preparation. And it should have been really evident to me when I bombed a bunch of recitals when I was studying music in university. I thought that just knowing the notes and being able to run through the song a few times was enough. But what I didn't know was that I needed to get through that first phase of just learning the notes as quickly as possible, so that I could spend the majority of my practice time woodshedding. It's where you repeat the song over and over until you have mastery, not just over the notes, but over the musical expression, the performance itself. Proper preparation, knowing the music, having mastery over the musical expression, leads to something called a flow state. And many of us experience flow when we're doing activities that are challenging, but also very engaging. Here's what happens in a flow state. Tell me if you've experienced this. 1, you have intense focus and concentration on the moment. 2, the action of what you're doing and the awareness of what's happening puts you in the zone. 3, you have a loss of consciousness or self-awareness and you lose yourself. 4, you have a sense of control or agency over the activity. 5, your experience of time is altered, or you lose track of time. And 6, the activity feels rewarding in itself. So it's not rewarding for the goal. The effort itself is the reward. Because I didn't know how to prepare properly, I could never get into flow, and many of my musical experiences became negative until I stopped pursuing music altogether. And once I did learn how to prepare and get through that woodshedding phase, it opened up a whole new level of preparation that I also had to address. The physical aspects of performance anxiety, sweaty hands, shaky palms, clenched jaw, with techniques like breathing exercises, visualization, and sometimes just not being so caffeinated. All this can be summed up with a popular quote: don't practice until you get it right, practice until you can't get it wrong. Number 3, make it automatic. Now, having a goal to get better isn't enough. Now brace yourself, because here comes another quote. Desire or a goal is a contract that you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. So if you make a goal to get better at guitar and then you just don't do anything about it, you're gonna end up a bitter, miserable old man, or statistically 2% of you old woman. Every goal that you want to reach needs a system or it's going to fail. But the problem is our brains trick us into thinking that we need to do the most complicated, overly optimized, heroic effort, perfect system that we struggle through. I woke up at 3:30 this morning, practicing all my scales for 3 hours. I stared in the mirror while I played Eruption on 2x speed and did 7 Hail Tony Iommis. Not realizing that the hardest thing to do is just to show up every day for days, weeks, months, and years on end. And the system doesn't have to be perfectly optimized and super complicated. It just needs to be repeatable. It's as simple as a routine. And I am incredibly encouraged by the definition of routine: a regular, habitual, or unvarying sequence of actions, procedures, or behaviors followed often with little conscious thought. I'm going to emphasize that last part, little conscious thought. If you just create a simple, easy to follow routine and you do it consistently, you're going to make progress. Now, there are industries and lots of marketing dollars to make you think otherwise. They don't want you to know the secret that you could do almost anything, and as long as it's not blatantly wrong, you're going to make progress if you do it consistently. So don't create some crazy optimized practice routine that you dread doing. Think, what's the least I could do instead of the most I could do? What's the least I can do in 10 to 30 minutes every day? And then let the pressure off and call it success if you do it 3 or 4 days out of the week instead of 7. Once you get some momentum with the easy way, you're going to want to naturally add a little bit more because you're excited and you're seeing progress and you're feeling good about your consistency. Which brings me to my next point. To stay consistent, you need a practice journal. And a practice journal doesn't have to be complicated. I keep mine really simple. I have a Google Doc. When I go to sit down in a practice session, I copy and paste the previous session. I put the date at the top, and then I pick up where I left off. And I do this because I know that I am not the most organized, executive, functioning, effective adult, but I have learned that any of the things that I've really succeeded at or made progress in life, I have tracked. But in order to consistently track, I had to make it easy. Here's my format for my practice journal. I start with a warm-up. I work on some kind of technique. I work on rhythm. I work on like a fretboard theory lesson. I work on my repertoire, either new songs or those vocab riff bits that I mentioned earlier. I do a little bit of improv to apply what I learned in my lesson. Sometimes I'll do some ear training, and then I'll do a cool down. But I almost never do all those things in a single session. I will pick a few things to focus on and make sure that in the course of a week or a month, I have spent enough time in all those areas so that I'm becoming a well-rounded guitar player. And if you want to see what I'm doing in my practice logs and my practice time, I'm going to start offering that as a channel membership. So if you like what's happening on this channel and you want to support what I do here, help me make more thorough videos like this that help you out, consider a channel membership. And what I will put there, the breakdown of my practice journal from my sessions with links to anything that I covered, a video walkthrough of my practice sessions so you can get a practical idea of what I'm working on, and also some behind the scenes stuff. If you like what I do, maybe you want some extra accountability, consider a channel membership, as I believe it can help you and it will definitely help me continue to make stuff like this as well. Now, these last 2 points are, to me, some of the most important. So number 5 is you want to leverage the way your brain and body actually work to learn new things. So anytime you learn a new skill, it sort of remains in this short-term memory, and it's when you sleep that your brain processes what you learned, what you practiced, what you reinforced during the day, and it commits it to long-term memory. So while you're sleeping is when your brain creates the new neuronal pathways, if that's even a word, creates new pathways within your brain for the things that you've reinforced. And much of this has to do with motor skills. And what we call muscle memory is really neuronal memory. But the point of this is that frequency is more important than intensity when it comes to learning a skill like guitar. See, anytime I need to learn a difficult passage or I have to learn music, I'm counting the number of sleeps I have between now and when that thing has to be learned, because I know that my brain is going to process and make me a better guitar player while I sleep, as long as I'm consistent. And I found that many times I can make surprising progress on difficult passages with 3 practice sessions, as long as there's a sleep between 2 of those sessions. This is why when you're learning anything new, it's important to get good sleep. And another tip, I am not a teetotaler. You can make your own choices on this, but alcohol interferes with this process. So anytime you consume alcohol, especially in the evenings, your body spends the first portion of your sleep processing those toxins instead of creating those new neuron connections from the things that you've learned that day. So I'm not saying you won't make progress, but you make much less progress doing things that your body has to process prior to those neuron connections, which to me makes it seem like a miracle that anybody learns anything in college here in the States. But regardless, just make sure you get good sleep. So if you take number 5 and you combine it with number 6, this is where the real magic happens, and what I call the magic device, and that's the metronome. I'm to the point where I don't really count something as a practice session or a structured practice session unless I got the metronome out. And I use it to reinforce technique and as a memorization tool. And I find it interesting that you can find studies on metronome use for increasing executive function, attention, memory, and people are even using metronomes to treat ADHD. And I think the reason it works so well is that you're just practicing intense focus and attentiveness to whatever you're working on. So here's how I use a metronome practically. And I use it on almost every piece of my structured practice session. So I will take a piece, let's use a scale as an example. And let's say I know the scale fairly well. I can play through it at a reasonable speed. What I will do is I'll take that metronome and I'll slow it down quite a bit to almost an uncomfortably slow speed. And what I'll find is that at that slow speed, I don't know it as well as I thought I did. I'll play it till I get it right, and then I'll begin increasing the speed. On the low end, I'll do bigger chunks like 15 or 20 BPM, and then I'll play through once or twice. Once I get to the higher speeds, where it starts to get a little more uncomfortable, I'm moving at 5 BPM increments to speed it up. And I found that there's almost this magical crossover at a certain speed where you're playing fast enough that you have to change the technique in your fingers. Your touch has to get lighter, your body has to relax. And this seems to me the speed where the most benefit from practice happens. Because you're not just learning the notes in the piece, but you are learning what your body needs to do to play things at a faster and more efficient speed. And to me, it is important to stop increasing speed once my technique breaks down, because what I don't want to do is for my brain to reinforce bad technique that I practiced while I'm sleeping and have those new neuron connections creating pathways for things that I don't want to do. But what I found is consistent practice with the metronome means some days I can improve 5 BPM faster than the day before, or some days it's big jumps like 10 or 15 BPM. But to me, the goal with a difficult passage is to work it up with the metronome until I am 10% over the speed that I have to perform it at. That way, when I back down, the performance is easier than what I practiced. Now, one last thing about the metronome, as I get older, it is much harder for me to memorize and learn songs. And sometimes I'll learn something and the next morning it is completely gone out of my brain. And the metronome helps fix that. Anything that I use the metronome to memorize gets written in my brain in a much more permanent way than if I had just practiced without it. So I have become a huge fan of the metronome, and I think you should become one too. Now, the secret to all these things is this isn't just how to learn guitar. This is the way you learn almost any skill. And I actually learned much of this information from running and fitness. If I had known this much about the way my brain or body worked back when I was in college studying music, I would have made much more progress and maybe stuck with it and not spent those 10 years away from it. So try these things out. If it helps you, I'd love to hear about it. If you'd like to support, consider a channel membership. Go out there and be better than you were yesterday.